So welcome everybody. We are now being recorded. I'm going to go ahead. If you want, you can put it on speaker view since I'm highlighted. If you want to turn your video off to protect the innocent, feel free. Please keep your mute button on. I will have opportunities later if you want to ask questions at the end of the presentation. But again, like Jenny said, welcome. We miss you, our YogaFit family. We're excited to have a new expanded YogaFit family through Zoom. It's one of the benefits of technology from all over the world, all over the place, all the different time zones. Just super grateful that you can be here. Take the time for this connection point. It's so nice. All right, so I just decided, I was like, man, I want to do just something kind of fun and different. So this is a Vagal hack class. Some people I saw today online, they were like, there's no such thing as Vagal hack. And I'm like, all right, I need you to take it down a notch. I mean, obviously we're not going in, literally hacking into our vagus nerve, even though you can, right? There are vagal stimulators. That's technically a legitimate vagal stimulator, but we have this vagal stimulator anytime at our disposal. It's called our breath. So how about that? And I like the term Vagal hack. I think that's a cute term. And I think there's some real benefit to it. So hi to everybody, all my friends saying hi, new friends, old friends. And if you are new to YogaFit, we welcome you. We are so happy you're here. And there's a lot of resources for you, a lot of connection community that you're welcome to join. And I'll show you the way to some of that. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go to the PowerPoint. Just let me know if you can't see it. And if you can't see it, we have a problem. All right, so again, if you want to just put it on speaker view, hopefully you can still see me on your screen somewhere. So I'm Shay Molendijk. I'm the director of YogaFit for Warriors, which is our trauma-informed yoga program. We have been around, YogaFit's been around since 1994, so kind of a long time. The YogaFit for Warriors program was launched in 2013, July 26, really because of the veterans and PTSD. That was in my heart. I'm a veteran myself. I know a lot of you on here are spouses, family members. Thank you, you and your families, for your service. So we launched it with the intention of helping veterans. And since the last 2 years, I think we all understand trauma a lot more. I think there's something about it that is uniting. Trauma has a uniting force to it to bring a positive light. We all understand that we have we've been through some pretty tough times, still are, and the healing processes are going to take a while. Just like 20 years of war in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's going to take generations to heal. So will this time. And this information is useful for that as well. I hope it is powerful for you, at least a little bit of it, a little taste of it. But we have a whole program for this, and you can come if you want to experience it yourself, the healing. There's some resources here. Again, I ask that you, if you're not muted, to go ahead and mute yourself. So just kind of check your hot mic on that one, make sure it's muted. So this is my information. You will be receiving these slides in addition to the link to the recording tonight. So you don't have to take notes, you can come back to it. But all the information, I do have a Facebook page if you are so inclined to join Facebook, and it's YogaFit for Warriors right there. And then of course the website that has more information on our trauma-informed programming, and to include the workshop that this is kind of based on. We have a whole workshop on vagal hacks, which is kind of cool. All right, so moving on. This is the program in general, the requirements. I'm not going to go through it too much. These are 2-day workshops. You can take anytime, no prerequisites, none of that. But the restoring balance, training the parasympathetic nervous system, that's where we dial into kind of vagal hacking. And I'm wearing this little machine, this technology, and we have some cool technology at our disposal. I'll encourage you right now, if you have an Apple Watch, a new one, especially, or a new Fitbit or other machine technology, I don't know, whatever, wearables, that can measure your HRV, heart rate variability. So, I'll encourage you at the end to kind of, take note and see what happened to your HRV when we do just a few of these simple things. Yeah, I'm going to wear mine. I'm going to look at it. I'll kind of share my results if they're good. They'll be good. They'll be fine. All right. So that's it. It's called Restoring Balance, Training the Parasympathetic. And the vagus nerve is really our parasympathetic activator, right? That is how we turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. And then we're going to look at a couple of pictures of it so we have an idea for it. I know some of you have been through the Warriors program, that you are well informed on it. So hang in there and we'll get to some of the practices. Heart rate variability is the biomarker. It's how we measure the health of our nervous system, really the health of our vagal nervous system. We would say your vagal tone. You could call that your HRV. It's the biomarker that shows us how our yoga and resiliency and mindfulness practices, if they're effective or not. We can't draw blood and say, hey, you got a healthy nervous system. I mean, I guess kind of cortisol, but other than that, it's really HRV, heart rate variability. So it is a really important thing to understand. And that's what we dial into in this 2-day training. In addition to coherence, we make you get an HRV monitor. They're about $120, well worth the investment. I use it with all of my clients one-on-one. Everybody is blown away by their HRV and what these practices can do for it. So the proof is in your HRV. HRV doesn't lie. Oh, wow. What's on this screen? Polyvagal theory. Not going into it too much. We just don't have the time in this short amount of time we're going to be here. But what I want to show you, first of all, don't look at the words. Look at the person. And the person shows a really good, I say, diagram of our nervous system. That's what we want to look at. If we could see an X-ray machine into the nervous system, this is kind of what it looks like through the body. So our nervous system, really, this is an extension of our cranial nerves, right? So this big one is what I want to draw your attention to. It's in red here. And that is our 10th cranial nerve. We have 12 of them. We actually have 13. When we're born, one of them goes away. No one knows why. Kind of a mystery. If you know why, email me. I'd like to know. So our 10th cranial nerve, it comes down from the brain stem and it innervates everything here in our lower heart, our lower lungs, into our torso, all of our inner organs, our psoas, our enteric nervous system, and also our pelvic floor. And then we have another nervous system here that you're very familiar with. That's our spinal column. Again, if you're not muted, I will just ask that you go ahead and mute yourself. I'm hearing a little background noise. Thank you. All right, so we have the spinal column here, and that runs over the back body, right? And it's our sympathetic nervous system chain. So it came about when we got reptiles. And this is really looking at the evolutionary hierarchy of the nervous system as it evolved and grew in the body. So that's kind of an interesting component of this, because like our oldest one is this vagus nerve in red. It's our parasympathetic nervous system. And I always say a good analogy of an animal that still has this on our planet animal is a jellyfish. So when it was mostly water, right, on the planet, jellyfish, amoeba-like, we still have them. Well, guess what? That nervous system the jellyfish has, that's basically what's in our gut, what's in our belly. So look at that. It's very interesting. And it's an information system. That's really important. What does that mean? It defines this as basically a brain. When we talk about the gut-brain connection, a big part of that, literally, physically in the body, is the vagus nerve, and it comes up into the brainstem. So then the spinal column is another kind of information system, and these are also systems of survival, right? Our polyvagal theory really dials into that, and our Warriors program does. Again, I don't have the time. I'll briefly touch on it. But you can see that because that's the spine. When we crawled out of the waters and we got reptiles, we grew arms and legs and limbs that grew out of our adrenals, right? So our arms, you can feel, kind of grew out of our back body. The adrenals allowed us to mobilize for fight, flight, freeze, and another F word I won't say, but it involves survival. Okay, then we go into the face. Well, that's the new part of the system. If you look over here, this blue line is our social engagement system or our social operating system. Now, it's a fascinating thing here because we got that with mammals, right? That came about after reptiles. And you look at our face, and we can do this innervation in our face because of this. It's called the ventral vagal line. Like, think venting at someone. It's a ventral vagal line. And, this is interesting because these are systems of survival. They are systems that main job is to keep us alive. Yeah. And it informs the brain on what's going on, to how to do that and how to mobilize resources, but also how to conserve resources. So metabolically, this ventral vagal line came about because it made a lot more sense for us to collaborate and communicate, to mediate with each other than fight each other, which expends a lot of resources and doesn't make a lot of sense. We need that information on the planet right now. Hey, Putin, want to get on the call? Let's talk right now. He doesn't, he's too busy planning a war. Okay, so here we go. We have these three systems. We have our parasympathetic nervous system in our gut. We have our sympathetic nervous system in our spine from reptiles. And we have our ventral vagal line in our face for humans, mammals, right? This is that face-to-face system of love and attachment. You can do this cross species to dogs and cats, all the things we do. This face thing. I know we've been wearing masks lately, but guess what? The main line for humans of safety and connection is here. Remember, we evolved by feeling safe with our fellow humans, mammals, connection, collaboration, communication, all the things that yoga mindfulness practices teach us that are so important, and why we want to hack the vagus nerve, because here's the big deal. This is it. This is the vagus nerve down here. Remember, it's our parasympathetic system. But the thing is, for this, our ventral vagal line to be on, we have to feel safe in our gut. We have to feel emotionally at ease, safe in the environment that we're in and with the people that we're in. And then this can come on. We've been through a lot of the last 2 years of that not being on. A lot of things that we're concerned about, and probably rightly so. So how do we turn this ventral vagal system back on? That's what we're here to do, right? Some of the things. That's part of the theory that Dr. Porges, I have to give credit, I did not come up with this. I wish I was that smart. But this theory is that we don't have just two nervous systems, because I know we're familiar, parasympathetic, sympathetic, this third system, right? The ventral vagal line in mammals. But they're all intimately connected, and we need all of them. When things are going well, we use them all in coordination with each other. You get up to go to work every day, or to get your kids to school, to make dinner, to do the things, that's your sympathetic still. But ideally, we keep the social engagement on. We have a problem when the parasympathetic drops out and we just rely on sympathetic, right? We go into fight, flight, freeze. There's other responses there, but when we lose this system, we lose the more metabolically intelligent system, and we resort to this, really strong system. For sure, can be very strong and necessary in fight or flight modes, and when we have to defend ourselves. But when we use it too much, it's like we push the gas pedal too much in the car. We're going to burn it up, and what do we get? You get cortisol, inflammation, mental health, dis-ease, all the things that we don't want. So another reason we want to have. This is why we want to look at it. Now I have this warm tea water. I've been talking all day because I've been teaching warriors and going into this. So this is great. So I made some tea, some lemon, hits my vagus nerve. So just a second on that. So there's your little vagal hack. Get a warm cup of tea. How about that? Also bubbly carbonated stuff. That's why you're addicted to Coke, Diet Coke and all that. No, I'm not. Or the Perrier waters and all of the LaCroix. That bubbly hits your vagus nerve. See? So that 10th cranial nerve is what we're looking at right here. This is it. It comes as a root system into the back of the throat. I like this quote about the vagus nerve. So this is the upper line. It comes down into the body, but I just wanted to show how important it is into the throat. Remember, our ability to communicate literally through the vocal cords and through the inner ear to hear other human sounds. Very important. So the main function of our nervous system is to control and communicate information throughout our body to keep it functioning, right? We call that homeostasis. That's our autonomic nervous system. Our cranial nerves, remember we have 12, we're talking this 10th cranial one. The 9th and 11th are involved in the face, but we're not going to go into all that. Help us to engage with the outside world, right? So that's how we interact and engage. This ventral vagal line, it's not inside, it's like to me, to you. One special cranial nerve, this vagus nerve, is our main PNS system, our rest and digest system. And I also say it's rest, digest, and repair. It's when the body can heal, when we feel safe and parasympathetic. It connects the brain to the neck and multiple organs. It has a significant effect when stimulated. I hate this picture, but it's kind of important to show this is it in the back of the throat. Look at it. It's thick. It's like a root. And it is a root system for your brain. Your brain is a plant. And your brain didn't grow your body. Your body grew your brain and it's still informing it. So this is the oldest drawing of the vagus nerve. It was found about 1920. And it comes from the term vagabond, which means wandering nerve. They said vagus substance they found. That's acetylcholine, it turns out, which is has a calming, soothing effect to the cardiovascular system when stimulated. Notice it's in the gut. So it comes down. We have a right and left vagus nerve. Comes down and innervates the lower heart, lower lungs, diaphragm, and then again, everything into the gut. So vagus vagabond, it's a wandering nerve. It takes up thousands of miles. If you were to pull it out, like if you pull your plant out of pull your brain out of your body like a plant from the soil, what comes with it would be, of course, your spinal column, but then this big tangled mess of the vagus nerve. Thousands of miles. Just think about that. It's pretty amazing. The other important point about it is that it's afferent. These are effective nerve fibers. Effective means they're sensory in nature, right? They're taking the feeling component of how you are. Are you scared? Are you hurt? Are you sick? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Right? Never get too hangry. Your vagus nerve is telling your limbic brain, what's the status of our metabolic resources? Do we need food? Do we need rest? Do we need connection? Are we in a state of disconnection? So that's what we want to think about as the vagus nerve. It's a root system for the plant of the mind. 80% of that information flows from the gut up to the brain. That's very important. We want that flow. Guess when it stops doing that is when we're stressed. What happens in your gut? Your heart, right? You pull in, you protect, and you don't do that. Your primal brain does that without your permission. Stress for all this time. Well, we can. We can do it. We have tools, wonderful tools, self-efficacy, self-regulation tools. So again, stimulating the gut, belly stuff is really important. So let's do that just real quick. Let's just do a quick vagal hack here. Very simply, is bringing, I'm using my left hand to my left hand to my belly. A little dyslexic moment, sorry. Right hand to my heart. Yeah, just for a moment. And if you're comfortable, eyes soft or closed, up to you. Just finding the rhythms that we feel in our belly right now. Again, just pausing, taking a breath break and noticing our breath as it enters through our nostrils, right and left. Maybe allowing the cheek area, the cheekbones to soften. Notice any tension there, which we hold there. Maybe feeling the nostrils flare, softening around the eye sockets. A lot of tension there. Allowing our eyes to kind of fall back to the back of our head energetically. And then feeling the belly rise and fall. And maybe even feeling the rhythms of your heart. Can you feel the beating of your heart? Allowing the breath to expand deeply into the belly and finding the deep waters next to the spine, the psoas muscle. On either side of the spine, this muscle holds us upright, but also pulls us in tight in response to threat, perceived or otherwise. What can we soften deep into the spine next to the belly? And expand the container in the belly just a little bit, undoing any rigidity we may find there in the container. Less container-like, more jellyfish-like. And then we'll just simply release that. Simple, effective, right? We know this. Why don't we stop and do that more? And even more wonderful that we get to do it all together. So thank you for that. Okay, so moving on. Again, the breath practice, that was just a simple breath practice, of course. We'll do a different one here in just a minute. It stimulates the vagus nerve. It runs over the back of the throat. So a lot of our pranayama, right, our breath practices and yoga stimulate the vagus nerve. One of the reasons yoga is so medicinal, it's turning on, intentionally turning on like a big old faucet, that parasympathetic nervous system, that inner physician. So that's good stuff. All right. So when these are the different states of being that we can be in. And, again, this is polyvagal theory, but I just want to show this idea. I told you this is based on the workshop, Restoring Balance, training the parasympathetic. We go to the gym, we think we're training our muscles, we're training our sympathetic, we're doing all the cardio, harder, faster, better, stronger. And we come to yoga, and I would argue we're trying to train the parasympathetic. We should be trying to train it. That's our nervous system, right? That's this idea of being able to be resilient in tough times. Not physically, but emotionally resilient. So it's our emotional nervous system. Again, if you're not muted, I'll just ask that you check your mute button, make sure you're muted. So we start down here with polyvagal theory. That remember, that's the ventral vagal line, this system, a system when we feel safe, grounded, connected, calm. Hopefully how you're feeling right now, right? Not if you have like people yelling at you to cook dinner in the background or like yelling about homework, and this is that you probably not, but just ignore that for now. Okay, so moving on, we go to sympathetic nervous system when we're in a duress situation, or we just have to do something to take action to mobilize in defense. That doesn't mean the parasympathetic necessarily drops out. For a lot of people, they do. That's our fight flight response. And a lot of this, when we know we're just in the sympathetic without the parasympathetic, we feel frustrated, irritated, anger, rage, panic, fear, anxiety, worry. Okay, as opposed to this idea of, calm strength, calm action. And then we go to when it's really dire in that life threat situation, we go to our dorsal vagal line, which is also, I didn't say this, but that's what our vagus nerve is called. It's the dorsal vagal line. And we'll go to a dorsal vagal state. It's called a shutdown. It's in the animal world, it's this freeze response or the feigning death response. But the problem is that animals in the wild, many times they're not feigning, even though some can manipulate, which is an interesting new thing they're studying. They're more manipulative, which means their parasympathetic is on. They're doing it on purpose. So like, I'm going to pretend to be dead. Ha ha. But most of the time they're like a mouse and the cat, and they're like, I'm scared to death. And my only chance out is just play dead. Right. So that works because then the animal loses interest, right? Their prey, and like, they're no fun, right? And then the mouse says, "Oh, thank God," runs away. Tom and Jerry, totally based on that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, so when we escape that situation, then we deactivate. Whoo! Right, we can release that high allostatic load, hopefully somehow, and then we come back and reestablish homeostasis, reestablish equilibrium to conserve those metabolic resources. You stay in that life threat situation, you're going to die. You will die, and in fact, you could die of stress. Animals held in captivity very long, they do, or you'll die of fright. 20% of the time, animals in the wild die of fright when they go into that state. I mean, people don't realize that. So this is us as humans and mammals. We want it, so that's that dorsal vagal state. When we go to shut down and we disassociate, oh gosh, it can look like fainting. That's a vagal response, like speaking in public. Thankfully, I've gotten over that, or I'm just faking it really well. Then we go to sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, right? That's a more mobilized defense. It's actually metabolically a better place to be. Because you're closer to that ventral vagal state. There's something about being able to take action for our own defense, that the brain, it likes that story, as opposed to that helpless feeling of not being able to take action, which so many have felt helpless these last 2 years. What do we do, right? What can we do? Feeling very restricted in our movement patterns, right? That leads to that shutdown. I definitely went to this dorsal vagal state a few times, right? Like many of us did. This is where we're all trying to climb this ladder up here, and we need each other to do that. We actually can't without this. We have to have this. How do we turn this back on? All right, so those are the vagal things. This is kind of a little new part of it. If you've heard these kind of talks before from me, I'm so glad you're here again. Thanks for putting up with me. But this is fascinating. So when we work with people, we're going to do what's called the basic exercise in the salamander in just a minute. And that is based on this book here, Stan Rosenberg. I'll have a picture of it, so don't worry about it. But we use this book in our workshop. So this is an animal, obviously tracking its prey, right? Predator. And what happens? Think about what happens to the eyes and the head. They move together. They get kind of stuck. It's this locked position, like eyes locked on target, tracking the target. So that is called your reticular activating system. And it's linked, look here, to the eyes and the ears. That's that threat response. Like think about, you're laying in bed. Do I hear something in your head? Like, right? You're like, oh no, that was just a tree branch. Okay, cool. I'm gonna de-stress. I'm gonna deactivate, go back to that ventral vagal, hopefully go to sleep. So this eyes are really involved with it, which is, again, sets the stage for why we're gonna do what we're gonna do with the eyes, because we're actually forcing, you remember when your computer I still do this, when your computer won't do and you just push the button, hard reset. Okay, we're just gonna restart. What do you got? We're gonna restart. I'm going to unplug the baby, or I don't know. I'm going to call somebody, but I'm going to try that restart button. That's what we're doing here. We're kind of also almost forcing the brain to restart and reset with a couple of these practices. Okay. And this is the basis for this idea. So think about the brainstem. When it turns ahead, it turns the whole body. Your entire being moves to threat or away from threat all together. And that's called a coupled response through the eyes, through the brainstem, through our movement patterns, right? And even our cardiovascular rhythms, everything sort of adjusts to this posture. And it could be, towards threat or away from threat, same thing can happen. All right, so moving on. All right, now we get to the fun vagal hacks, if you're willing to try some of them with me. Ujjayi breath, you guys know what that is. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my little machine here. If you have an HRV monitor, you want to get yours and start it. If not, don't worry, it still works. It's cool, you don't have to have it. It's just kind of fun if you have one of those tools. You're like, this is why I spent $700 on an Apple Watch. Should be using the full power if you're going to spend that kind of money, right? And if you aren't using it, just send it to me. I'll use it. I don't have one. That'd be great. Thanks. Christmas present. Love it. All right, I know many of you know Ujjayi breath. So I'm getting here trying to get my machine to calibrate. If it doesn't, I'm still doing it. It doesn't like me right now, but it's all right. Okay, so Ujjayi breath. We call it our warrior's breath. It's also called Darth Vader breathing. It's called, what else? Whisper breath. You'll hear it, all sorts of things. I call it vagal breathing because it's been studied actually. This is a very famous study, and it really was the impetus, I think, for all trauma-informed yoga. It's called the Streeter paper. We introduced in our emotional and physical trauma, but what did it say? It studied these people with PTSD and an hour, yoga practice, trauma-informed, but they found that it worked. But the mechanism that made it work, that helped their PTSD, wasn't a series of postures. It was Ujjayi breath. It was that was it, because it hits the vagus nerve. So maybe we want to try it, right? All right, so let's sit back nice and tall through the spine, feeling maybe grounded. Feel your feet on the floor. That's a component, right, that we need to think about in our classes or with each other. We want to feel grounded to feel connected. Finding our breath, if it's helpful, you can bring your hands to your belly or anywhere on the body that feels comfortable. And then as we inhale and exhale, just start to notice your breath and the pattern, the rhythm of your breath, the quality of your breath. So inhaling, again, it feels just good, comforting to draw the breath more fully into the body, making it feel comfortable. And as we exhale, finding the ease through the structures of the body, that sense of ease through the belly, through the chest, the shoulders, the face, immediately turning on parasympathetic, even before Ujjayi breath, just finding our breath. All right, so I'm going to teach the exhale part of it first. And I know many of you yogis already know how to do this, but this is how we teach it. You open your mouth up, put your palm to your mouth, and you go, and you fog up a mirror. And then you're going to do that with your mouth closed, right? Through the nose. You feel it, heated, warm breath, but hopefully you feel it move over the back of the throat more intentionally. Now the inhale is a little bit more challenging to learn. So on the inhale, here's how I have 3 ways to teach it. First of all, imagine you have 2 big, thick milkshake straws, like the kind you used to get at McDonald's. Remember those? Stick them right up your nose. And then you're going to imagine sucking the air in through those milkshake straws. Now I know you can't hear me. Hopefully you can hear yourself. You should be able to hear this breath. And hopefully you feel the throat push in a little bit. That's what we're going for. Now, the second way, a little bit easier, take your 2 fingers and let's find our glottis, the base of our throat. And as we inhale, try to suck your fingers in right here at the base of the throat. Again, breathing through the base of the throat. Again, hopefully you felt not just the throat push in, because we don't want to constrict the throat. Hopefully you felt this kind of like almost like a wind tunnel, over the back of the throat. What does it do? It directs the air, the breath over the back of the throat, hitting the vagus nerve. That's good stuff. That's what we're after, right? Turning on that vagus nerve. It's like a spider web through the whole body. It goes, ooh, right? Something's happening. Good vagal tone. Again, hopefully the HRV reflects that. So let's practice that a few times. Oh, the third way, I forgot. Take your 3 middle fingers, this is kind of a fun one, to the sides of your neck. And imagine you have gills and you're going to breathe through the gills and the side of your neck. Now remember the exhale, we're fogging the mirror up. And let's just do a few more rounds of Ujjayi breath together, inhaling and exhaling. All right. So maybe you felt something, right? Maybe you didn't, feeling the breath come over the back of the throat. If you've been to a yoga class, you've probably heard people next to you do it, right? You're like, they are breathing so loud. Some are really loud. You're like, kind of take it down a little bit. So we don't need to be too much. We don't need to be too dramatic about it, but not too little. Goldilocks, right? Just right. So Ujjayi breath, one of the most wonderful breaths we have, again, to hit that vagus nerve. Okay, then chanting. Yes, we are going to chant together. And you get to hear me, the melodious sounds of Shea Molodike. And I am not vocally inclined, but I'm going to do it anyway and be brave. So AUM, right? So I know it's OM, but it's really AUM. Now chanting, we know, has a significant effect on the vagus nerve, vocalizing. Remember that vagal line runs here through the throat. All right, so we're going to just do it. I know just people in your house will be like, what weird stuff is happening? And you're, I don't care. None of your business, right? I'm oming. All right, just let me om. So AUM, I want you to hear the sounds move from A-O-M. Also has a very grounding. It starts high, it goes low. So that's kind of cool, going through the whole vagal line. We'll do Om 3 times. You have your hands any posture. If this is your first time, welcome to Om. Pretty cool stuff. So inhaling, and again, you're not unmuting yourself. It's fine. You just get to hear me. Sorry about that. Inhaling and Om 3 times. Uh, uh, nice. Did your animals come? Sometimes like cats come on that one or children. Like, hey, what is going on in here? What's going down? Okay, so then we're gonna go do a brief tapping, which I've taught this a lot. So I'm not gonna do a big tapping thing, just like a little tapping here. But remember that ventral vagal line. How cool is that? So we're in a state of stress, in a state of, that hypervigilance. The brain, the limbic part of the brain, and you saw that's where the cranial nerves went into the middle part of the brain. Let's see, I got my brain here real quick. So this middle part of the brain, that's where it's going to. That's our stress response, our 911 operator in the brain, and it's the hypothalamic pituitary, and then the adrenals down here. And that's what happens. Now we have this reverse flow where the HPA stress response is constantly going when we're in a state of distress in our gut. And because your gut literally gets in distress, right? You have gut issues and sleeping issues and all the issues. And so this tapping helps to actually stimulate the vagus nerve around the eyes. Also, you could splash your face with cold water or like those eye pillows. That all kind of does it too, is interesting when you think about it. So let's take our two fingers and we're just going to do it together, right? Let's just start at the top of our head, just very gently. Again, I'm not going through the whole thing. If you guys have done this before with me, I'm not going through it, but this is what we usually do. We start to gently tap the top of the head, and then we'll say the script, and I'll say it. You're welcome to say it with me, or you can just listen. And it goes like this: even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. The brain is paying attention, right? It's getting a different signal, and it stops dialing on the hypervigilance for a bit. Inner eyebrow point. Even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. And then we go to the outer eye. Even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. Under eye. Even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. Under nose. Even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. Chin. Even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. Collarbone. Even though I have this anxiety, I still deeply and completely accept myself. And that's it. You can go to the side of your hand to tap, by the way, here, and you can just say any kind of script you want. What's really happening is we're sending a different signal into the brain. We're giving it a different sensory input, because your brain lives in a dark shell. It doesn't know anything until sense tells it. And a lot of our stress response, remember, it's coming from the eyes and the ears a lot of times, maybe the body, what we hear and what we see. Hey, social media. Hey, news. Thanks. No, thanks. So we want to turn the channel of the brain. How do you turn the channel? If we're on the emergency broadcast system, this is a very fast, effective way to give it a different signal. And the brain only can tell one story. And so it says, well, hold on, we're getting a news report. What is this? This is important. What's happening? So it starts to dial down the anxiety. It's really useful for anxiety and hypervigilance. So I'm a big fan of it. The tapping solution, great app, awesome, walks you through it. Tons of things on YouTube. Really easy to learn. I just taught, right? You got two fingers, right? We got it. All right, here, let's go to the basic exercise. This is part of the idea with the eyes. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll do this a little quick. So we're going to drop our head. Now you have the idea. It doesn't matter which way. I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to cue from going to the right. And I don't know if it's reversed on your screen, but we're going to take our head and just gently allow the right ear to drop to the right shoulder. This is where the eyes are coming in. We're going to have our eyeballs turned sharply up to the corner left. And we're doing it now. Now we're doing that because we're trying to uncouple that stress response. We're still holding. And ideally, you would hold this between 30 to 60 seconds. And so this is actually, this is called the salamander. We'll do the basic exercise in a minute. This is the salamander, and you can kind of see why. And it's easy to do because we're seated. But just know, if you feel any discomfort, vestibular discomfort, or even nausea, like, come out of it. It's fine. I'm going to hold it here for just a little bit longer. Ideally, we're kind of waiting for some different shift in the torso. You should feel this maybe lower heart or lungs. You may feel the need to yawn or sigh or some kind of release in the belly or some kind of information that changes. All right, so I know it may not be quite long enough. You can also practice this on your own for longer, but let's go ahead and move our eyeballs back. Woof. May feel a little woozy. And coming back up, let's just pause before we do the other side. So this is the salamander on the slide. Did I spell salamander right? That looks all of a sudden, you know how a word looks weird? Let's go with it, looks right. All right, salamander. Funny little creature. Okay, let's go to the other side. So left ear to left shoulder. And again, just allowing that right side to be nice and relaxed. And then again, if we can, shift the eyeballs. So don't let the head move. That's why we have the hand here. When I teach people this who have stress, their head goes with their eyes. And that's a sign that's stress. It's like, move your eyes. And they go, oh, I go, no, move your eyes. So just our eyes, keeping our head down, up and to the right. Again, 30 to 60 seconds. I don't know if I'll hold it that long. Again, just start to notice and breathe, feeling any sensation that starts to change in the body. And the brain and the vestibular system and the eyes are all connected, of course. So that's why we get that vestibular discomfort, right? Their body actually gets messed with and it has to reorganize in time and space. And it does that through the vestibular system. So we're messing with it in a strong way right now. All right, let's go ahead and move our eyeballs back. Whew, come back to center. Okay, fantastic. So that's the salamander, and that can be done in lots of different ways. I have to wait. My brain is doing a little topsy-turvy thing. You get off the teacups. No, you don't. Why? Because we're too old for that. Don't do teacups anymore. That's why. Your vestibular system does start to degrade as you get older. So you're like, hold on, I'm moving. I am. Just give me a second here. All right. Because I'm the speaker, so I got to keep it together. Okay, so moving on, basic exercise. So this is, you would actually do this, and I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to cue you to get down the ground, because usually you do this laying down. You can do it in your chair, it's fine, but let me show you, and if you want to get on the ground to do it, I'll cue it on the ground in just a second, but let me show you, and then I'll cue it. So you're going to take your hands, this is the hardest part, this is why it's nice to be on the ground, like you're kicking back in a recliner, right? You're going to clasp the back of your hands. Now, if you can only do one hand, it's fine. All right. Or if you just need to, like, I can't get my hands back there, like thoracic spine tightness, totally get it. So if you can, and then it's the same kind of idea. Your head though is going to stay steady. We're not moving it. Our eyeballs are going to move to the left for 30 seconds, and then we'll to the center and then to the right. Okay. So if you want to go to the ground, knees bent, lay on your back, kick back, maybe feels good right now. It's fine. Or if you want to do it on the chair, it's fine. I'm going to cue it on the chair, right? Because if I just disappeared, that would be weird. All right. So here we go. Maybe you made it to the ground real quick. All right, let's go ahead and take the hands lightly to the back of the head or wherever's comfortable for you. Again, we're not trying to pull in here. We're trying to keep the chest nice and open. Gently just get a little bit of stretch for the back of the neck. Just maybe lift your occipital ridge here, pull your neck a little bit. And then we're going to have our eyeballs go sharply to the left and hold. Again, you're free to come out anytime, but I'm going to try to get it about 30 seconds. I'm just kind of, figuring out, counting in my head just a little bit here. We're still breathing. And again, we're trying to see or notice if the body changes, the physiological response here through the heart, through the lungs, to the belly. Again, we're forcing that kind of hard reset. The eyes, get locked on target, get coupled with the head movement and that reticular activating system. Okay, then eyeballs, right to the center, reset. That was a little challenging, to the right. And then so the eyes go to the right. And again, continuing to find our breath. Again, noticing, does your head want to move? We're trying to keep it steady, which is another good reason to be on the ground, right? To get that response. And also notice any differences right to left. We remember we have a right vagal line and we have a left vagal line, and they do slightly different things. I'm not going to go into that right now, but this is may show some of those dysfunctions. Okay. And then coming back to center, that's really challenging. The final, not the final one, but another really cool one. And I love this one. I do this all the time. And this you do want to stand for. So I'm going to unhook my AirPods. And if you want to come to stand, and you can do it seated. I just like to, I think it's a little, plus we've been, I've been sitting all day. So I like to stand. So if you want to stand with me, you can. You don't have to. And we're going to take our, let's say our right arm, and hopefully you can see me. Let's see here. Actually, I'll stop. And so I'll go to a bigger screen of me because I just realized you're not going to be able to see me very well. All right. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we're going to take our right arm and we're going to study with our feet, right? Bringing our right arm in front and we're going to set it back in. So reach it out like you're going to touch me. Hi. Then we're going to pull it back in. So the right shoulder blade goes in. And then we're going to bring our arm back and see if where it goes. Just don't overdo it. Don't overtwist. Just naturally, where does it go? Like, okay, mine's hitting kind of the side of my dresser right here. All right, I got that. Now we're going to bring it back and let it go. Let's let it go. Okay, now we're going to bring our right arm up. We're going to bring it back in. Again, bringing it back. Now this time, keep your arm back, but head and eyes go to the left together. Head and eyes go to the left, but keep drawing this right shoulder blade back into the spine. Now remember, I'm going to talk you through this. We gotta hold it again, but remember that back line, the spinal column. Remember the arms and legs grew out of it. So remember our body as well gets stuck in these postures of threat and it actually limits our range of motion. We're trying to actually force now the whole body to let go, and especially through the arms. So that's kind of cool here when you think about what's happening. Okay, head and eyes, woo, that's a tough one too. Goes back. Now bring the arm back, we'll let it go. We got one more thing and then we'll do a test to see if it works. I don't know, let's see. This is a test we're all gonna pass. That's always nice. Okay, so right arm up. Now this time I'm just gonna show you when the head goes back, the eyes are gonna go opposite. So the head's gonna stay back, but the eyes are gonna go left. Okay, so that's why right arm in, right hand back. So remember the head stays back, but now don't let your head move. It's hard. The eyeballs go to the left. So head stays back. Don't let the head move. The eyeballs sharply to the left. So you're kind of looking through your peripheral on your left side only. It's real weird. Yeah. Right shoulder blade back in. Again, keep pulling it back. And we're trying to actually reintegrate our limbs appropriately into the spine. They get kind of stuck out in space. We disassociate even through the limbs, disconnect. We see this all the time in our yoga classes, don't we? Arms go do all wonky things. This will help that. Okay, woo, that was enough. Looking back and bringing the right arm. Okay, a moment of truth. Let it go. That's kind of hard. And now let's see how far we can get, just naturally. Okay, so right arm up, set it in. Hey, I got a full, I don't know, 2 feet. I don't know, way far. Yes, you did. Good. Got farther naturally. That's kind of cool. You're like, whoa, what's that range of motion? That's good stuff. We got to do the other side. We got to be even. So let's just go ahead and bring the left arm up. Now you know what you're doing. Left arm up. Again, let's take a test and you'll notice a difference. Just see how far you go naturally to the left and bring it in. Okay, so you got the point on the wall or wherever. The left arm up. Remember this time the hand goes back and the head and the eyes go to the right. And we're still pulling this. This is the important part. Very important. Keep drawing that left shoulder blade back into the spine. Again, we are not just resetting the nervous system. Remember, it drives our defensive postures physically, organizes our bodies in space. And so we want to, force that reset through the whole body. All right, so now head and eyes go back and bring the left arm, let it go. Remember the last one's the weird one, head back, eyeballs to the right. Okay, so left arm up, bring it in, bring it back. Head stays back, eyeballs sharply to the right. So peripheral vision sharply to the right. Keep drawing that left shoulder blade in. Keep breathing. Again, side to side. They're usually pretty different. It just depends what we got going on right to left side. All right, eyeballs back. That should be sufficient. Bringing it back. And you can hold it longer at home if you want to play with this later. And then let's do the test. Here it is. Ooh, definitely got farther. Yeah, all right, that's pretty fun. So that's one of my fun things. There's lots more of those. There's a lot more of those. I would also call that like somatic hacks. We're hacking also these patterns in the body, right? And the body holds those patterns. So let me go back to the screen real quick. So the final one is just something simple for those oil fanatics out there, aren't we all? And that is using, and by the way, this has been studied and I couldn't find the study, so I apologize, but using oil on actually here. So in the mastoid process, our fight, flight, and bite response right here in the jaw. So you would take clove and pretend this is bergamot. It's not, it's geranium. I couldn't find my bergamot. So believe it or not, clove and bergamot, couple of drops each, rub it on your on here, right here at the mastoid process. Helps to increase HRV and to turn on that parasympathetic. So clove is very grounding, bergamote's uplifting. So it actually stimulates both responses in the body. And that's pretty fun because who doesn't love oils? Because I do. All right. So those are your vagal hacks for tonight. There's a lot more of those in the workshop, but I just wanted to share that with you. And then let me go to the share screen here. I want to show you, if you're interested, real quick, you guys know on the Yoga Fit site, this is the Restoring Balance online dates. We have one coming up in March, in April and July. I'm sure more will be added. So if you're interested, please, you can go to our website and I will put the link in the chat for those interested. And just remember, we have all sorts of fun workshops coming up. We have conferences coming up all over. We have a big one in Chicago. I will be there. I hope to see you guys there in Skokie, Illinois, which is right outside Chicago. So excited for that. Pittsburgh in April, Minneapolis in June, Scottsdale in July. Plus we have all of our workshops are offered online.